All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis, and today we are going to be talking about a release from the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo called Oud In White. So if you're curious to hear my thoughts and opinions on this fragrance, then let's go. All right guys, so here's my bottle of Oud In White. And yeah, let me talk a little bit about just kind of how I went about, purchasing this fragrance and my experience with this fragrance thus far. Basically, I remember sampling this fragrance when it first came out. And I remember the first time I tried it on skin, I wasn't the biggest fan. Something was popping off my skin that wasn't quite, doing it for me. I'm not sure if it was the jasmine or whatnot. And then I remember going back to the nose shop again. I was like, let me sample this one more time. The second time I sampled it, I was like, wait a second. Like, I feel like I can kind of get down with this. Went back again a later time, sampled it again. I was like, it kind of started growing on me. And then this last time when I went, I sampled it again. And yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, this is totally my cup of tea. I am going for it. So I went ahead and made the purchase. And yeah, I purchased this fragrance from Laboratorio Olfattivo. Has a pop-up store, and it's located in Takashimaya, and that's located in Shinjuku. It's basically right there at the station. And I think that pop-up store is kind of affiliated or connected to the nose shop. And I think, as you guys know, I do a lot of my fragrance shopping at the nose shop. And so when I went to the Laboratorio Olfattivo pop-up store, there was a really nice staff there named Nana, so she helped me out. And it was cool just to kind of talk about fragrance with her. And it was nice, and I enjoyed the conversation. So thank you, Nana. So yeah, this fragrance is an interesting one, a very interesting one. It's not your typical take on oud. Because I think nowadays too, like oud, you always come across the oud and rose combos. And like for me personally, I'm quite bored of that specific combination. So one thing that really drew me to this fragrance was the combination of notes. And I remember when I first looked at the pyramid, I was like, oh wow, it's kind of interesting. And in my mind, I had my image of what this fragrance should be, but when I sprayed this on skin, it gave me a completely different image. So that's just one thing to kind of go by, is like, don't necessarily trust fragrance pyramids, because the image that you have in your mind and the actual image that, the actual smell that you're getting off the skin might be completely different. And that's happened to me so many times. I think I might know, oh yeah, I know what this fragrance is gonna smell like, and then it doesn't end up smelling like that. So whether that was for the good or for the bad. But in this case, like I said, this was a fragrance that kind of slowly grew on me over a few samplings. And this last time I'm like, yeah, I can totally get down with this one. But yeah, let me go over the presentation. If you're not familiar with the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo, they have some really amazing fragrances. And this is actually my fourth fragrance that I own from this house. I have Vanagloria, Vetiverso, Neurotic, and yeah, Oud In White is my fourth fragrance. So yeah, this is from their, I wouldn't say exclusive line, but it's kind of from their, what is it called? There's a name that they have. This is in a specific line, and I can't remember the exact name, but the labels tend to be black, and then they'll have the name basically in the color. So this is in white, so they have it in white. They have another one called Underground Vibes. I think that's written in green. Amber Bomb is written in red, I believe. So yeah, this is from their special line. Sorry, I can't remember what the name is. But yeah, it's a very sleek bottle. This is a 100 ml bottle. In this specific line, they only sell 100 mils. So if they had 50 or 30 mil, that would have been awesome. I definitely would have scooped that up, but this is all that they had, so I just rolled with it. But yeah, to kind of show you, this is not a magnetic cap. However, the cap is extremely weighty. Like, you could hurt somebody with this cap. It is metal. So yeah, it is very, very weighty. And it fits on rather snug. I don't suggest this. Don't ever pick the the bottle up by the cap, but I mean, it's on there quite good. It's not falling off. It's on there very snug. But yeah, always pick it up by the bottle is best. But yeah, I'll show you what the sprayers kind of are. I do have this one on my arm still. But yeah, I'll show you what the sprayers look like here. Here we go. Go ahead and spray this on. And also too, this, whenever I buy fragrances from, any boutique for that matter, I always have them do a spray check. Do you guys do that? Sometimes like it's a pain in the butt to, once you get home and then something's wrong with the sprayer, then like for me, I have to go all the way back to Tokyo to get it, taken care of. So I always have them do a spray check in the store, just to make sure there's nothing wrong with the atomizer. But yeah, I'll go ahead and spray this on. Yeah, so the Laboratorio Olfattivo sprayers put out a nice amount of juice, and it's quite dispersive. It's not pressurized, but yeah, it puts out a good amount of juice there. Or is it pressurized? Did I make a mistake right there? Hold on. Maybe it is pressurized. I kind of feel like it is pressurized, actually. It is pressurized. Sorry about that. But yeah, let me let this kind of dry down a little bit before I start talking about it. But the perfumer on this one was Julien Rasquinet. And as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of his work. And today too, when I was in Shinjuku, I was sampling another fragrance called, it was by Van Cleef & Arpels, called Orchid Leather. And I'd sampled that one many times as well. And so I was kind of bouncing between the two on like, okay, which one do I want to pick up? Because I like both of them. They're both phenomenal fragrances. But I ended up going with Oud In White, which I'm very happy with the purchase. But, I think what starts the vibe that this fragrance sets from the very beginning is that you are getting oud and a heavy floral presence, and that floral note being jasmine. But you're also getting a bit of fruitiness off the top. And that fruitiness combined with that jasmine is bringing like a brightness to this fragrance. So it is a very lovely combination of light and dark, and that's blended together extremely well. So you have those kind of bright, I think there's some ginger, some pear, and some raspberry. So you have those kind of bright fruits on one side, and you also have that jasmine, which is also adding to kind of, it's giving this fragrance kind of like a floral brightness, fruity brightness. And then on the other side, you have the oud. So you have, and the oud isn't skanky or barnyardy. It's more of like a dark, smoky, kind of leathery style of oud. And so that is blended together extremely well. But what's very prominent on here, see, when you first spray this, you can definitely pick up on the fruit, but those fruits definitely start to settle fairly quickly. And what you're left with is a heavy kind of floral, that jasmine, and that kind of the oud, which is, I would say at this point in the fragrance, the bright kind of overpowers the dark at this point. But as you move into the dry down, those roles change completely. So yeah, but man, it is such a lovely combination, and it's an interesting combination of, I don't think I've ever come across another oud fragrance that's combined with jasmine that I can recall, or that I have in my own collection. So it's an interesting combination of notes, but it works. And then what I really love too, as you start to push into the dry down of this fragrance, that jasmine is still there, but it definitely subsides, and it's kind of starts to sit in the back of this mix. And then you have those dark, leathery, smoky notes that are starting to push forward. But what makes this fragrance even more delicious is you have some labdanum and some sandalwood. And so that's bringing a bit of like resinous kind of creaminess to this fragrance, subtly, but it's a nice touch to add to that kind of dark, smoky, leathery tone that you have going on. or that vibe that you have going on here. So it almost kind of helps to round out the leather a little bit, and or not round out, but kind of smooth out the leather a little bit. So it's a very, very nice touch to this fragrance. And what I can comment on in terms of performance that I've experienced by sampling this one. Now, I want to say that this isn't a full review. This is kind of like an impression review because, I haven't given this fragrance an official full wearing. So I just want to be clear with that. But what I can talk about in terms of the performance is that this fragrance is quite beastly. This pushes out extremely heavily and the longevity is crazy. So yeah, this one really lasts on the skin. I remember each time that I sampled it, I would even take a shower, get out of the shower, and it was still there. It wasn't there like to where it was still like pushing out heavily, but if I brought my arm up to my nose, I could still smell it. But yeah, and like I said, I still have like the dry down of when I sprayed this earlier on my arm. And yeah, what you're kind of left with, it's more of like that dark kind of smoky, leathery type of tone. I would say more leathery than anything, but it's dark. It's quite dark. But man, what a beautiful, contrast between the light and the dark of this fragrance. I love it when fragrances do that. Like, when a fragrance starts out one way and it totally flips and takes you in a different direction. These are the types of fragrances that I like. I also enjoy linear fragrances, especially if you like the opening of a smell of a fragrance and it just kind of continues on like that. That's great too. But I also enjoy the journey and the journey that some fragrances can take you on. And this is one of those fragrances. Again, it starts out bright and then it kind of flips to the dark side of things. So, man, what a lovely vibe that this one has. And there's like a mysterious kind of sexiness about this fragrance that I really enjoy. And in terms of like who could wear this fragrance, I would say that this is unisex for sure. And I feel like those fruits and the jasmine in here, make this fragrance unisex, but I would say it kind of pushes slightly masculine in my opinion, especially in the dry down. I would say it definitely pushes a bit more. It's unisex, but pushing a bit more to the masculine side of things. But man, and what's also interesting too is it's like, you have that dark leathery vibe, and I mentioned the fruits being bright, with that floral kind of tone, but it almost brings like a soapy freshness in a way. So it's like you kind of have that soapy freshness combined with the dirty darkness. Man, lovely stuff. Yeah, I feel like, and this is one of those fragrances too that I do know that I'm gonna have to be careful wearing this one in Japan. Not in the sense that, I don't have to worry about the oud being off-putting. I think that's subjective, and I do know it will be off-putting to some, but I feel like this is an easier fragrance to kind of get down with. Easy in the sense that it's not basic or anything like that, but it's definitely unique in its scent profile. But I feel like, there's it has this fresh component to it that I feel like will go over really well. But yeah, what I will have to do though is I'll just have to be very careful with the sprays. This is probably a one push for me, and either like under the collar or on the back of the neck, and that's it. I guess it'll kind of have to depend on the environment that I'm going into. But yeah, I feel like Julien Rasquinet knocked it out of the park with this one. This is a nice one, just a very, very unique take on oud. Yeah, loving this one for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to get some more wearings out of this one. But what I will say is also with this one, I feel like this fragrance will work in the fall, winter, and even spring, because yeah, it has that kind of floral-like presence that I feel like will fit perfectly in the spring. But yeah, summers, this might be a bit challenging, at least summers in Japan because we have very humid weather here. But man, fall, winter, spring, I feel like this one will work a treat. So it is quite versatile in that regard. But also too, in terms of like wearing, when I would wear this, I feel like this one can be dressed up or dressed down. It does have a sophistication and classiness to it, but at the same time, like you could totally wear this, you know, casually as well. Like, yeah, it's quite versatile in that regard. And that's something that I really, really like too. But yeah, Laboratorio Olfattivo, man, knocked it out of the park. They're a really underrated house in my opinion. I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about them. I feel like they definitely deserve a bit more shine than they get. Because yeah, they do have some quality fragrances. And yeah, this is one of them for sure. Yeah, huge fan of the house, full support for me. And I'm excited to get some more wearings out of this fragrance. And later on, I'll report back and do a full review on this one, and kind of see, you know, what other pages have been turned in terms of the experiences that I've gotten from this beautiful fragrance. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comment section. Have you tried anything from the house of Laboratorio Olfattivo? And have you tried Oud In White? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.